Have you ever felt like you are spending more time on social media, but thinking less than you used to? Many people spend hours every day watching short videos, scrolling through TikTok, Reels, and endless news feeds, only to realize that their memory is no longer as sharp as before. They read fewer books, struggle to focus, and rarely experience the creative ideas that once came naturally to them. The frightening part is that this change happens so gradually that most people never notice it. Writer Virginia Woolf once said, "Thinking is my way of fighting." That statement may be more relevant today than ever before. We are living in an invisible battle, not a war fought with weapons, but a battle for human attention, focus, and the ability to think. Every day, countless platforms compete to keep our eyes on screens for as long as possible. And if we are not careful, we may lose the most valuable thing we have, the ability to think deeply. The good news is that there is still a way to take back your brain. And it all begins with learning. Many of us have probably experienced this without noticing. At first, social media is just a way to relax for a few minutes after school or work. But those few minutes gradually turn into hours each day. Endless short videos appear one after another, making us feel connected to the world, informed about everything happening around us, and temporarily distracted from feelings of loneliness or stress. However, the cost does not appear immediately. It arrives slowly and quietly. After months or even years, you begin to notice that focusing on a book is harder than it used to be. Your memory is not as strong as before. Deep thoughts and creative ideas seem to become increasingly rare. You no longer spend time writing, reflecting, or truly talking to yourself. Instead, you find yourself mindlessly scrolling from one video to the next. Then one day, you suddenly ask yourself, what happened to the person I used to be? What made me become so passive and easily distracted? That is the same question millions of people are silently struggling with in today's digital age. In recent years, the term brain rot has become increasingly common on the internet and was even chosen by Oxford as the word of the year for 2024. Simply put, brain rot refers to the gradual decline in our ability to think, focus, and absorb knowledge due to consuming too much shallow, highly entertaining content with little intellectual value. It can be the hundreds of short videos you watch every day, but barely remember a few hours later. It is the type of content designed to keep you glued to the screen for as long as possible, constantly stimulating your curiosity without helping you truly understand any topic in depth. What makes brain rot particularly concerning is that it is not just about the content itself, it is also about the habit of endless scrolling. Every time you swipe to a new video, your brain receives a small dopamine reward, encouraging you to seek the next source of stimulation. Over time, your brain becomes accustomed to fast consumption and loses patience for activities that require sustained attention, such as reading, studying, or deep reflection. If you have noticed that focusing has become more difficult than it used to be, share your experience in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we continue exploring practical ways to reclaim deep thinking in this age of constant distraction. This is a very important question. If social media and short-form content are making us less focused, are they actually harming our brains? The honest answer is that science still does not have a definitive conclusion. There are not yet enough long-term studies to prove that watching TikTok or scrolling through social media directly causes cognitive decline. However, some recent research has raised important concerns. For example, a study on the use of AI writing tools found that people who relied heavily on AI showed lower levels of brain activity and weaker neural connectivity while completing tasks. Although this research does not prove long-term effects, it does raise thought-provoking questions. More importantly, we can look at our own experiences. Do you find yourself reading less than you used to? Is it harder to focus on a book or stay engaged with a challenging task? Many people have noticed the same changes. Science may still be searching for the final answer, but the feeling of having a scattered mind and struggling to think deeply is something countless people experience every day. To understand why learning is so important, think of the brain as a muscle. If you stop exercising for a long period of time, your muscles gradually become weaker. The brain works in a very similar way. Scientists refer to the brain's ability to maintain cognitive strength as cognitive reserve. A healthy brain is not just made up of a large number of neurons. It also contains countless connections between those neurons. These connections are built and strengthened whenever we learn, think, solve problems, or engage with new ideas. However, for these connections to remain strong, they must be used regularly. If we spend most of our time consuming short, simple content that requires little mental effort, the brain is not challenged enough to grow. Imagine watching hundreds of short videos as taking a few steps and then stopping while reading a book, learning a new skill, or reflecting on an idea is like a real workout session. The more you exercise your mind, the stronger your neural connections become. So, brain rot may not be rotting in the literal sense, but it can be the result of neglecting your brain for too long. And like any other muscle, what is not used will gradually weaken over time. If brain rot develops when we spend too much time passively consuming information, then the most natural solution is to do the opposite. Actively engage and challenge your brain. That is why self-education can be seen as one of the most effective ways to fight the decline in deep thinking. When you start learning a new language, exploring history, practicing a musical instrument, or studying a completely unfamiliar subject, your brain is forced to work in different ways. You must remember, analyze, connect ideas, and solve problems. Each time you do this, new neural pathways are formed while existing ones become stronger. Many studies suggest that activities requiring active thinking can improve memory, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. More importantly, self-education transforms you from a passive consumer into an active explorer. Instead of simply absorbing whatever the algorithm wants you to see, you begin asking your own questions, searching for your own answers, and building your own understanding of the world. That process is what truly stimulates brain growth. The best part is that you do not need to go back to school to make it happen. By setting aside even a small amount of time each day to learn something meaningful, you begin the process of reclaiming the mental sharpness and deep thinking abilities you once had. When people think about learning, they often picture schools, degrees, exams, and expensive training programs. But self-education is completely different. One of its greatest advantages is flexibility. You do not need to follow a fixed schedule, spend hours sitting in a classroom every day, or pay costly tuition fees. With nothing more than a smartphone or a computer connected to the internet, you can access an enormous amount of knowledge that previous generations could hardly have imagined. However, what makes self-education truly special is not its convenience, it is the motivation behind it. When you learn on your own, you are not studying for grades, certificates, or external pressure. You learn because you genuinely want to know, understand, and grow. This is known as intrinsic motivation, one of the most powerful forms of motivation a person can have. Curiosity makes learning far more enjoyable and sustainable over the long term. Instead of studying simply to achieve a specific result, you learn for the joy of exploring the world itself. If you agree with this idea, be sure to like the video to support the channel and share in the comments what skill or subject you would love to teach yourself in the near future. When we were children, learning came naturally. A child could spend hours exploring dinosaurs, planets, animals, or anything else that captured their interest. No one was paying them to do it. There were no exams waiting ahead. They were simply curious and eager to understand the world. Yet as we grow older, many of us gradually lose that mindset. We begin judging every piece of knowledge with a familiar question. Will learning this help me make money? If the answer is unclear, we often lose interest almost immediately. Of course, learning to advance your career is not a bad thing. But if that is the only reason you learn, you may be missing out on one of life's greatest joys: the joy of discovery. Many of history's greatest inventions, ideas, and breakthroughs began with nothing more than simple curiosity. When you learn out of curiosity, you are not pressured by results. You give yourself permission to ask questions, experiment, make mistakes, and enjoy the process of exploration. That mindset makes learning deeper, more meaningful, and far more sustainable. Sometimes, the things that change your life the most begin with a subject you first explored simply because you found it fascinating. The first step in self-education is not finding books or enrolling in courses, it is choosing the right subject. This step is far more important than many people realize, because your level of interest will determine how far you can go on your learning journey. One common mistake is trying to learn things that society says we should know, instead of focusing on what genuinely sparks our curiosity. When motivation comes only from external pressure, enthusiasm often disappears the moment challenges arise. Instead, pay attention to the topics that naturally attract your interest. Is there something you could spend hours researching without getting bored? Are there certain types of videos that always keep your attention longer than others? Is there a subject that immediately makes you want to learn more whenever someone mentions it? These small signals often reveal a great deal about what you truly want to study. Sometimes, your initial interests may seem simple. You might enjoy watching cooking videos, which could eventually lead you to explore food science. You might be fascinated by criminal cases, which could spark an interest in forensic science. When you learn from genuine curiosity, staying motivated becomes much easier. And that is the strongest foundation for any self-learning journey. Once you have chosen a subject to learn, the next step is to build a reliable learning system. This is where many people feel overwhelmed because the internet contains an endless amount of information. A simple search on almost any topic can produce thousands of articles, videos, courses, and resources. If you try to consume everything, you can easily fall into the trap of constantly collecting information without actually learning anything. One simple way to avoid this is by following the three-source rule. First, find a foundational resource such as a book, textbook, or beginner-friendly course to build your basic understanding. Second, choose a trustworthy expert to follow, whether it is a teacher, author, researcher, or content creator with deep knowledge in the field. Third, join a learning community where you can ask questions, share experiences, and learn from people who have similar interests. The goal of this step is not to accumulate as many resources as possible, but to select the highest quality ones. When you have a clear learning system, you spend less time searching and more time actually learning, thinking, and developing your knowledge. Many people spend hours reading books, watching videos, or taking notes. Yet after some time, they forget most of what they have learned. The reason is simple. Consuming information is not the same as truly understanding or being able to use it. That is why application is one of the most important steps in the self-learning process. One of the most well-known approaches is the Feynman technique. Its principle is straightforward. If you truly understand a concept, you should be able to explain it in simple language that even a child can understand. When you try to explain something clearly and simply, you quickly discover the gaps in your knowledge. The parts you struggle to explain are often the parts you do not fully understand yet. For practical skills, such as cooking, playing a musical instrument, or programming, regularly ask yourself, "What am I doing?" and "Why am I doing it this way?" These questions help you understand the underlying principles instead of blindly following instructions. If you have ever taught yourself a skill, share in the comments the method that helped you learn most effectively. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Learning is not just about acquiring new knowledge. It is also a continuous process of evaluating and improving yourself. That is why reflection is such an important part of any self-learning journey. After studying a topic or completing a learning session, take a few minutes to look back on what you have just experienced. Which concepts do you understand clearly? What parts still confuse you? Did any new questions arise during the learning process? These simple questions can help you identify strengths and weaknesses that you may not have noticed before. Reflection also helps strengthen knowledge in your memory. When you actively think about what you have learned, your brain creates additional connections between new information and existing knowledge. It is also an opportunity to discover interesting ideas or unexpected links between different fields. You do not need to spend hours doing this. Simply writing a few notes about your progress, challenges, and the things that spark your curiosity is enough. Over time, those small notes become a roadmap that helps you learn more effectively and improve much faster. Almost everyone who starts learning a new skill experiences this feeling. In the beginning, everything is exciting. You feel highly motivated and constantly imagine the future version of yourself who has already mastered the skill. But reality soon sets in. You realize that learning is harder than you expected. Mistakes happen repeatedly. Progress feels slow, and the gap between your current ability and your desired goal seems enormous. This is the point where many people give up. The problem is not that you lack talent or ability, it is that you expect to become good too quickly. We often see only the results that others achieve and forget the thousands of hours of practice behind them. Someone who speaks a language fluently, plays an instrument well, or excels in a profession once went through the same awkward beginner stage as everyone else. No one starts as an expert. When you feel discouraged, ask yourself one simple question. Do I genuinely enjoy this? If the answer is yes, keep moving forward, no matter how slow the progress may seem. Genuine interest will help you get through the most difficult stages. Every skill takes time to develop. What matters is not how quickly you learn, but whether you are persistent enough to keep going instead of quitting halfway through. It may sound strange, but even self-education can become a form of scrolling if you are not careful. Many people love the feeling of starting something new. They get excited about discovering a new topic, buying a new book, or watching inspiring introductory videos. However, after a short time, they move on to another subject before making any meaningful progress. Today they are learning Japanese. A few weeks later, they switch to graphic design, and then jump to psychology or personal finance. The problem is that every time you begin a new topic, your brain receives a burst of excitement similar to the feeling of finding another interesting video on social media. Novelty triggers dopamine, making us feel energized and motivated. But if you constantly chase that feeling, your learning remains superficial. You end up knowing a little about many things without becoming truly skilled in any of them. To avoid this trap, stay focused on one subject long enough to make noticeable progress. If you start feeling bored, do not change your learning goal. Change your learning method instead. Variety in how you learn can keep things interesting while still allowing you to go deep enough to achieve real results. At the beginning of this video, we asked an important question. How can we regain the focus, deep thinking, and sense of curiosity that many people once had before social media took up so much of their lives? After everything we have discussed, the answer may be simpler than we think. Start learning something. Not for grades, degrees, or pressure from others, but because you genuinely want to understand more about the world around you. Self-education does more than keep your brain active. It reminds you of who you really are. You are someone who is curious, asks questions, and wants to explore new ideas. Every book you read, every skill you practice, and every concept you take the time to understand is a small step toward rebuilding the mental connections that constant distraction may have weakened. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight. Simply spending a few minutes each day learning something meaningful is enough to begin reclaiming control of your mind. If you enjoy content about learning, psychology, and personal growth, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss future videos. And remember, the best way to fight brain rot is not to consume more information, it is to learn more intentionally.